Yo, what's up, Green Blood fans? This is Rafael from C Manga, and I'm here to give you a review of chapter 26, Justice. And finally, the manga's back. I've been loving this manga, and every time it goes on a break, I get upset because it's so good, and it really does. I really wish it was released a bit more often, but I guess translators are busy with other stuff. Seeing as it seems like they got a lot to do. But anyway, other than that, the last chapter, if anyone actually remembers, was basically a time skip. It was a year after the war in the 5 Points. Brad and Luke have decided to move on to the west. They're going to go after the guy that basically caused all this trouble. Brad knows, I think Brad finds out it was his dad, and Luke doesn't actually, I'm not sure if he knows who it is, but he's willing to help Brad go and deal with it. Currently, we saw in this one that Brad is slightly older. He's 21, and Luke, I think he's 17. He looks a lot older, and he's much more competent with firearms, and he can fight as well. Close combat. Basically, he's grown up. He's more of a man now, and he's much more, as I said, competent in terms of warfare. So we see that they're currently staying at this farm with Anne Macy and Jenny Macy, mother and daughter, who own this farm in this town called St. Louis. And this town is basically governed by this guy called Charles Howard, and he works for the train company, and they basically buy up land and are refurbishing and rebuilding stuff. And everyone seems to think he's a good guy, but all's not what it seems. From what we see, he's actually quite an arsehole. He seems to be tricking people out of their property, as we see in this chapter as well. And he, lots of times, he tries to make Anne Macy give up her farm, but she's not having it. She doesn't want to. And later on, he basically calls in this guy called, well, he doesn't have a name yet, but he's basically a hired gun, and he's saying, go and force Anne Macy to give up the deed to the land so I can build on it. So yeah, he's an evil creep, just like most corrupt leaders and politics back in the 5 Points. So in this chapter, it continues, and Brad and Luke were ready to leave, and Anne Macy basically lies, because I think it was blatant at the beginning of this chapter that she wanted them to stay, and she says, can you stay for 2 more days because I don't feel well and I can't do any work. So they're like, all right then, fine. And we see them discuss after this that while they're at the shooting range, don't you find it's kind of weird that she's all of a sudden made us want to stay? Like, isn't there something strange about it? And Brad's like, oh, didn't you like staying here? And he's like, yeah, I could stay here. If I could, I would stay here for the rest of my life. But with the path we're taking now, that's not an option. We have to go kill that guy. So yeah, basically, Luke said, I would love to stay here, but we gotta go kill David King, even though he doesn't know who that is yet. So there was a bit I enjoyed as well, where we see Brad and Luke shooting, and Brad misses his target, which was the bullseye, but Luke hits it first time, and this piece of Brad, because he's like, how is it 6 months ago, you couldn't even hold a gun, and now you're shooting like that? And he's like, it's talent, isn't it? It's like, they start bantering, things like that. And so after that, we go to Charles Howard, and he's speaking with that guy. We later see his name's Fast Draw Hawk, and he's said the same thing. Go and deal with Anne Macy. I said, I don't care what methods you do. So obviously he's saying you're allowed to kill, get the deed. I won't care, because he just wants to build land because he's a greedy creep. And some guy comes bursting in, and this confirms it more that he's an arsehole. He's saying, you tricked me out of my land, I've got nothing left, I'm gonna kill you for it. And he tells the guy, he's like, can you deal with this, the Fast Draw Hawk guy, because he's a hired gun, he's paying him to do stuff. So he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do this, but it'll cost you extra. And before the guy who's bursting even has a chance to react, the guy's drawn out and shot him. And it was like, that's the reason why he's called Fast Draw Hawk, because the guy, Charles Howard, says, oh, I'm glad I hired you, Fast Draw Hawk. So that's basically his skill. He's good at drawing these guns and shooting quickly. So yeah, that was interesting to see what Brad and Luke are going to be up against, because it's clear that they're going to fight him. So there was a few more bits in the chapter with Luke working, and he asked Anne, why are you making us stay? I mean, we're just two strangers, two wanderers. How can you trust us? And he's like, my husband was like you. He went off to war. He had the same look in your eyes that he knew he was gonna die. The same kind of lifeless look. And he's like, I can't stop you from leaving, but the least I can do is make you stay for 2 more days and enjoy life or peaceful life with your brother before you go off on your way. And that was really nice of her to do that. So she's not as stupid as the chapter's kind of perceiving. She knows what they kind of people they are. They're not evil people, but they gotta go do something. So she's basically saying, no, just rest for these 2 days and recover, and then do what you have to do after. And this is also confirmed after that we see Brad with Jenny Macy, and he's saying, I heard you lost your father in the war. And he's like, I'm sorry for that. And he's like, yeah, he went off and he had to go to war. He ended up dying, and he built up the farm that they have right now. And that's the reason why Anne Macy doesn't want to give it up, because it's the only thing he left for his wife and daughter. So that's basically something they're not going to get rid of. They want to hold on to this for as long as possible. And this is where it starts to get interesting now, because as they're riding, someone goes past on a horse. He's got a cowboy's cap on, and we don't see who it is. And Brad's looked at him like that, like suspiciously, and he's thinking, Jenny's like, what's wrong? What is it? And he's like, it's nothing at all. But really, Brad, it is something at all, because if I'm correct, because he looked like he had the same hat that Fast Draw Hawk had, that was him riding past, and it looks like he's on his way to the farm where Anne and Luke is. So it looks like Brad's gonna make a big mistake, and he's probably gonna have some regret or I don't know, self-blame in the next chapter, because it seems like he's gonna go there. And I'm hoping this would happen, is that Luke will fight him, and we'll see him how skilled he is, because so far we've only seen him like shoot stuff like friggin' targets and kind of fight people who are insignificant. So I want to see him like fight someone with a challenge, and this fast draw hawk guy seems to be very skilled. So maybe Luke might handle him. He might be able to handle his own, or he'll handle him for a bit, get injured, and then Brad will come back, and we'll see what happens from then. So I can see that's what's most likely is going to play out. That whole crossroad thing with him just going past and Brad's just gone nuts. Nothing. He's going to regret that later. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the chapter was good. It was shorter than the last one, which was 30, but obviously because it's the arc started now, there's no more long pages. So I just hope there's more of these to come out more often. I really do enjoy this series. It definitely deserves its credit and due, and the artwork, as I said again, man, it's brilliant. And this guy, he really is amazing artist. So as I said, I hope it gets more chapters out and translations, and I hope there as I said, more popularity for it as well. It's really good. So that's all I can say. I've given you my predictions as well for the chapter. There'll be a fight at the farm, and yeah, good chapter. Can't wait to see some more. So let me know what you guys think if you do read Greenblood, or if you're up to date. Want to hear what you guys' opinions are, and also if you like the video and the chapter, leave us a like to help not only us but the series out, and subscribe for more content in the channel, because I think there's some new stuff up for you guys to watch. And I'll see you guys in the next chapter.